of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Quorum is present.
Before we start the session, did you have a presentation you wanted to make, or was that? Oh, it's coming later, okay. Any persons wishing to address the council on any item on today's agenda other than the public hearings may do so at this time.
Good afternoon, council, staff, and residents, and whoever else is here. Leroy Fisher, the First District. My comments are with regard to payment of the bills. Last meeting, I said that people were being paid too much money, and I hold to that, I understand that you have maybe opened up one Friday, every other Friday, And to me, with regard to payment of the bills and all the money that you them are taking from the city, we could be opened every Friday. So, I said last week, and I will say now that and we'll continue to say, until you them change your ways, because you're all a double dipping or triple dipping in some cases, and you pretend to have the best interests of this city in your heart. It seems to me that if you did, in fact, that you would consider not taking all the monies that you take from this city, because many of you are retired and have large salaries as it is. I said also last week, y'all, or you them, and I kind of meant that, because it used to be that you would maybe have some independent thought. But recently, in my observation, every agenda item that comes up, it seems like you're all saying aye, without really giving any thought to it. I talked to you last week about that farmers market agenda, which I'll be talking about more. But that's my thoughts right now with regard to the monies that you take from the city.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera. I'm asking the council and the clerk to end all financial ties with publisher Willie Brown, because it's wrong for you to help yourselves get reelected by paying Brown our tax dollars so that his paper prints nothing but praise for you. He gives you he gives you columns in his paper, he hides your misconduct, and he uses lies to attack your critics. For instance, Brown tried to help Alex Padilla get elected by writing a story about me, a story he knew was full of lies, because he had a videotape proving there were lies. And if you Google the words liar for hire, Willie Brown, you'll see what I mean. But James Butts has tried to defend Willie Brown's lies, saying everyone makes mistakes, which is true, but Butts knows Willie Brown did not make one mistake on one day and then repent. No, 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 no. Willie Brown, James Butts' political consultant, has deliberately perverted the democratic process by misleading and lying to his readers for years. Willie Brown deliberately lied about me. I sent him a letter demanding a retraction. I came here and said Brown was lying and offered Brown $500 if he could prove his lies. But instead of Brown retracting his so-called mistakes, he told the voters more lies, here and in his paper. So my lawyer sent Brown a letter demanding a retraction, but Brown refused to contact my lawyer, and Brown said in his paper that he stood by his libelous story. So I sued Brown, but instead of Brown admitting his mistakes, Brown hired a Yale attorney to try to get my case thrown out. And then Willie Brown, Planning Commissioner David Rice, and Councilman Alex Padilla all misled or lied in sworn affidavits. Days before our hearing, I offered to drop the whole suit if Brown just admitted his lies, his mistakes, and pay my legal fees. But they refused, and Brown didn't come to the hearing. So when we again offered to drop the suit, Brown couldn't be reached. So because there was a videotape proving Brown lied, of course the judge ruled in my favor, saying that Willie Brown probably deliberately lied to his readers and Inglewood's voters. I've repeatedly offered to drop the suit, but Willie Brown is trying to hide his lies, and James Butts knows it. Willie Brown didn't make a mistake. Brown and his paper have deliberately misled and lied to Inglewood's voters for years, just to keep our tax dollars flowing in from this clerk and this council, while his crooked buddy while his crooked buddy James Butts and Alex Padilla and Yvonne Horton support and make excuses for Brown. This clerk and this council don't mind giving lots of money to a documented liar so that he can help you, but you shouldn't give him the taxpayers' money to do it. Next time I'll explain how James Butts' excuse that he just made a mistake when he repeatedly violated people's civil rights in Santa Monica is just another one of his lies.
Thank you, Mr. Texera. Much appreciated.
Gil Matthew, District 4, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to speak, as usual, on payment of the bills. And my first question, and I hope residents hear me loud and clear, the question all residents should be asking, where is the money? Where is the money, Mr. Butts and Council? We have just had the writ of mandate with finances. Now, you have the last comment, but don't mislead the people. You're saying that it's negative people. No, it's not. It's not negative people. Residents, you should hear and understand what's happening. The city is in precarious financial condition. And Mr. Butts, Mayor Butts, big pants on is something that you tell youngsters to man up and take responsibility for what they've created, particularly young people in education. They make excuses, and you make them understand that when you become a man, you take responsibility for what you've done and don't pass it off on anybody else. Now, we have AB 26 and AB 1484. I've told you I got copies of it. I'll give it to any member of this council. I will meet with any member of this council. Nobody takes me up on my invitation. Okay? Either you don't understand what's going on, or you committed to silence. And you have a fiduciary responsibility. It's not a one-man band. You have 20%, you have 20%, you have 20%. So collectively, you're responsible for what your leader does. If you don't say nothing, you just simply mute. We have $7,000 on payment of the bills, Mr. Field, for basketball. Again, $7,000. That's crazy when you say you don't have money to pave a street. Now, the problem is with you. You don't set priorities, and you won't meet with the success agency. I've asked you time and time again, Community Room A is open. Let the public know. Let the public know. And then you go down, meet and confer, you're spending all this money on litigation, and you know you can't win when you go in. You don't even know state law.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Michael Benville, First District. Just a few comments and a few words. First of all, concerning under consent calendar number 4, Parks and Recreations, concerning the improvement of Vincent Park. Definitely so. I agree with you to approve these measures. We need more recreation and facilities for the city, and these are things that young people and seniors can attend in our parks. Absolutely free to them, get a fresh breath of air outside and enjoying plays and that sort of things in the park. Nothing like it. and also economic development and community development, number DR1, concerning bicycling in the city, definitely needed. Something is no cost to the community, other than, we may have to regulate the traffic and that sort of thing while we do this sort of thing. But it also opens the door for what we're getting ready for in bike paths in Inglewood, and get people used to seeing bikes, more than one, just floating through the community, but many bikes with families and that sort of thing, with people to follow and learn how to drive while this type of activity is going on in the city. One other thing that I just need to comment on just a little bit, there was a long period of time when we missed the services of the Inglewood Today. And I'm so happy to see that back. One of our council people decided that they needed to self-destroy the paper, and did for a long time. And we used to have the paper and was full of information about the city and that sort of thing, but you have to go with the readers of the city, that sort of thing, and in communicating from the city council, the mayor, and that sort of thing, and the city administrators back to the community. This type of paper is needed so that we can communicate the things that we need to do, and not make it such a long time where we hear periods of it and paragraphs of information concerning the city and the well-being. Thank good that we've got that back. We've had several other make-believe papers that come along, just haven't done the job, and I'm happy to see that this paper is operating again in Inglewood and doing what it was planned to do. It has been planned to do for some time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bimbo.
Yes, Jim Vaughn from Second District. I too also would like to comment on section number 4 under the consent calendar. I'd really like to address the council and the people and Clark Construction. I want to say well done. I've been talking with members of the theater groups around the city, and we've been waiting for something to be done with the Playhouse and get that thing back up on the line. Also, one other thing, hopefully maybe down the road we can look at the
Amphitheater?
no, why can't I think of it? Anyway, the outdoor arena there where we used to have the jazz festivals. I'd love
The
to see them
amphitheater.
come back. We'd love to see the jazz festivals come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Stuart Bailey, and I'm going to have a counter to Mr. Joseph Texera. Mr. Texera, first of all, when a judge says you probably lied,
First
is
of
not
all,
true.
he was talking about payment of the bills related to the Inglewood Today, so is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead.
When a judge says he probably lied, a judge does not say probably. He either says yes or no. Mr. Texera, if you have proof, paperwork, something that comes to a resolvement of your issues, please bring them here so that we all can hear the stopping, because you've been talking about this subject for a year plus. I, as a citizen, I'm tired of hearing your complaining sounding like a child. All you do is talk about the city, the people. Give me some proof, man. I'm tired.
Mr. Matthew, you had your time. Please don't do that again or you'll have to leave. Thank you.
Well, if you don't like the city, move. That's all, just move. But we have better things in this chambers to do than to listen to you whine and cry. And, you have the right to do it, but don't waste our time. These are my comments, and thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and wonderful staff. I am Ted Brass, a proud resident of Inglewood, City of Inglewood, and District Council 2. I would like to share and echo my sentiments of my colleague here, Mr. Bimbo, with reference to DR1, Economic Development Resolution, with regard to the application and hold a street and bicycling event in the city of Inglewood. I think that is another fantastic idea and shows the progressive nature of the city of Inglewood and our new council and staff here. I think that's a wonderful idea. I know that Metro is doing that throughout a number of cities, Los Angeles, Santa Monica throughout, and it's a wonderful event. It allows us to get out and exercise, get our bikes out. Both my wife and I are bicyclists, so we look forward to participating in something like that. Not only is it something that's good for the citizens of Inglewood, healthy, it also is something that statistically, looking at comments from other cities that have shared this program, the vendors in the area benefit from it. Most of them have said, many of them, I rather, have said that it actually has brought in revenue, it's brought attention to their businesses and things like that, some to the degree that they've come back again even after the bicycling event. So it's something similar to what's taking place with regard to the food trucks. But certainly this is something that's healthy, something that's good for the city, good for the citizens of Inglewood. So I encourage my fellow citizens of Inglewood to stand behind this and support it and encourage it. Yes, there will be some cost to the city, but no pain, no gain. There are no free rides. So it's something that if we participate in, I think it's going to create a great event for the city, and it is going to help citizens to benefit from, and most importantly, it will far exceed the cost in terms of benefits back to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Diane Sembrano. Isn't that interesting? We just heard no pain, no gain. You only get what you give. That brings me to item number 4. There's a construction company from Irvine, California, and out of the goodness of their heart, they're going to redo our playhouse. Yeah, right. Of course they are. I believe that, right. Like I believe the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. You know, it's been quite easy to chart that frequently, if you just look at a campaign statement, and that's coming up a little bit later, somebody gives a certain amount of money, and then they get something in return in this council chamber. I haven't checked on Clark Construction, but I'll bet you there's something there somewhere. And I do find it absolutely interesting that now suddenly people who have not even known we had a playhouse are suddenly championing that playhouse. Those of us who've talked about repairing it for a long time have been, well, simply ignored on a consistent and regular basis. Kind of like, why don't we fix that monument to Sentinel Springs? Oh, well, never mind. Probably won't happen until someone else gets up to insult me. Well, she just did. Okay, so let's go back to that expense on the Inglewood Views. Did I say that? No, Inglewood Today. You see, Inglewood Views was the one that we did in-house. That did not cost us that one year $170,000 a year and over and over and over, and now the fees have lessened, but it was about the events that took place in the city. And unfortunately, now we've devolved to simply be a praise piece for one person. The other 4 of you should really be kind of annoyed. Did you notice in the Great Chamber thing, you don't even count because he's the only one who has a name? How'd that happen? It actually takes, theoretically, 5 votes. And yet in the Inglewood Chamber of Commerce piece, only one person is acknowledged with a name. Maybe we shouldn't be paying the rest of you. I don't know. Kind of interesting. But you know, as we go through to those concession stands, I gotta say, we really should be fixing the fields as well. I can make a list of a whole lot of things in the park that need repair. And I would hope that the Veterans Memorial Building isn't left in the disrepair it's become since we tore down the Senior Center without a plan to put one back.
Good afternoon. I'll have a comment for DR1 with the bicycles. First, I want to ask, anybody want to donate me a bike up here? I need one bad. I gave mine away, but anyway, this is great, y'all. I mean, as a whole council, you move in Inglewood. The mayor, that's what your job is, to be in the paper, just like Eric Garcetti does. You doing what you're supposed to do by the means of the council. So they voted you to do that, that's what you're supposed to do. Take up for this city and take care of the city. Also, I want to mention about Inglewood today. Now, at one time, I used to bicker. I guess people just don't realize that it's time to stop. And I'm going to step on what he said, Mr. Bailey. We don't want to hear all of this moaning and crying. We are so tired. The council and the mayor working like out of 100, trying to move the city. We have a diverse community. It's no more just black and brown here. We got Irish. We got everybody here. I walked today and I was just amazed. Different nationalities all through this place. And why? Because of that man and that council. Bringing in new property, new businesses. Inglewood today, God is floating, letting people know what's going on. You're doing a good job, okay? You're doing a good job. Pay that man. I also want to say something about the wave. They used to be negative too, just like I was. Not anymore. When the wave back you up, you got it going on. I'm serious. The council know that. I mean, Ralph, Eloy, you know when the wave back you up, y'all got it going on. So I must stand here and say, everybody should learn how to stop complaining, especially when you're sitting on different boards and commissioners. Stop doing it. You're fighting yourself. Maybe y'all need to change some of these positions, some of these people around. Maybe that's what you need to do. Give them a wake-up call like you're giving everybody in Inglewood. No more, you're not playing games anymore, and I think you're doing a good job, really good job. And I need a bike. Somebody, but really, because I want to ride on opening day. I want to be, man, y'all doing like Hollywood, and they just had a marathon. Come on now, I want to ride a bike. Somebody see in their heart, maybe my husband, ex-husband, will buy me one over here. He make all the money. Thank you.
Close public comment. We'll open the successor agency and the housing authority.
A quorum is present.
Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Move allow payment.
Madam Clerk.
Council and agency members, Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. And we'll open the finance authority.
A quorum is present.
Item 2, CSA 2, H2 and F1.
Approval of the minutes held for the following council, successor agency, housing agency, and finance agency for February 25th and March 4th, 2014.
So moved. Second.
And that was very efficient, Madam Clerk, the way you
Thank
read
you.
that. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Thank you. Council and agency members, Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a continued public hearing to consider amendments to Chapter 12 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to include provisions to allow billboards on islands, triangular and irregularly shaped corner residentially zoned properties.
The notice of the hearing been given in the time, form, and manners required by law. And do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given and affidavit is on file.
Is the complete file of the Planning Commission present?
Yes, it's present.
And have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received.
Is there a staff report, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, the acting Economic and Community Development Director will introduce the speaker.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce our senior planner, Chris Jackson. He's our in-house billboard expert to make this presentation.
Welcome, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Butts and members of the council. Just by way of background on this request, in February of 2009, the City Council approved amendments to the municipal code revising transitional use regulations for what we classify as island, triangular, or irregularly shaped residential zones that are bound by two or more non-residential streets.
The rationale for originally amending the code to allow for additional transitional uses was to give an opportunity for an expanded use of residential, expanded use towards residential properties that were negatively impacted by their shape and locations near non-residential streets. The amendment expanded the range of transitional uses that are allowed on residentially zoned properties and therefore expanded developmental opportunities towards those properties with viable economic uses other than residential. In November of 2013, the Planning Commission considered the request, and as required by our municipal code, this amendment is forwarded to the council, mayor and council for your consideration and action. The subject amendment to allow placement of billboards on such properties benefits for an additional public benefit opportunity. The recommended changes to the code allow a billboard exemption from the standards in the billboard or section or for off-site signs if it's developed as part of a project on an island, triangular, irregular shape, corner residential zone property, and then it meets two particular areas that are outlined in your staff report. First, the location of the billboard in connection with a project would have to be adjacent to a major arterial street, as identified in the Inglewood General Plan circulation element. And as outlined in your report, we identify what streets those would generally apply to. Secondarily, a written agreement must be entered into with the city that establishes provisions for the city to receive a percentage of the billboard revenue and other standards as would be deemed appropriate and necessary to mitigate any impact to any adjacent residentially zoned property, including schools, child care facilities, nursing schools, hospitals, places of worship, etc. And as part of this, the negotiating process would be delegated to our city manager, and then it would be ratified by the council if there is an agreement that would come forth as part of a project. So with that, staff concludes the presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public present that want to address the council on this matter?
Council, since the days of Garland Hardiman, we've been working to eliminate billboards in this community. We were doing quite nicely because we used to have way so many that nobody could even count them. Of course, staff didn't know how to get out of the building to go count them, so we had to come in and show them pictures. But you know, we were making progress toward that until this administration, and now we've turned into the billboard mecca of the universe. That's one of those campaign contributions you can look up. The building and the provider of that billboard, by the way. And it's really unfortunate that it's not about promoting our community, but about taking your money somewhere else. Isn't that sad? You know, Lawndale had to go through a lawsuit to realize that theirs was out of kilter. And as you redo this and decide that billboards everywhere are okay, I think you're really working to try to make us into something like a Las Vegas. Instead of a community, we're going to become just a business center, and residents don't count. We have neon in places we shouldn't have neon. We have digital that blast all day and all night long. And you know, it's kind of like the whole thing that a billboard is only about advertisement. It's the one form of advertisement that you can't turn down the radio, push the button and turn it on. If you live near it, it's in your face 24 hours a day. You cannot escape it. And that's thoughtless and inconsiderate, and it only benefits campaigns.
Mrs. Brown, since we've become the billboard mecca in the last 3 years, how many signs have we actually added?
Well, when did we start having a dialogue? You usually don't like
Okay, it's 0, Ms. Sobrano. Thank you. Mr. Matthew?
Gil
It's
Matthew,
0.
District 4. Mayor and City Council. Now, I've been here a long time. And the most discouraging thing to me that you're repeating the past, what we have rejected. Every single thing you bring up here has been rejected overwhelmingly by this community. There is no community that considers themselves aesthetically pleasing is going to allow billboards and graphics. What are you thinking? I know you need money, but all money is not good money, because there's unintended consequences when you take bad money. I'm amazed at this council. You're good human beings. I'm not talking about any of you personally. You're good human beings. But don't you have a vision for Inglewood? You say you're committed to Inglewood. You live 30 years in your little house. This one lived so long. He's been here. Morales grew up as a little boy. And you've been here, what, 2 years?
Actually, if you really want to be accurate, I've
No,
lived here
don't take
5
the time.
years. So then let's just be accurate.
Okay, let's be accurate, but it was only 30 days for you to file for the mayor's condition. You didn't live here for the 30 days, and then you had to wait. So don't play games with me, okay? But then do it on your own time. You can have the last comment, fine. But the point I'm making is that there are people in Inglewood that take pride in this community. And I am one of them, but I'm not the only one. And if you think people that stay away from here are happy, as you say, or they're pleased with this council, then I challenge you to have a community meeting at Morningside and Inglewood like we did in the past, and you listen to the people. If you think they're so happy, they stay away from here because they are pleased, you are sadly mistaken. And I don't know what people you're listening to, but I must tell you this. You be careful for those that praise you. Be very careful. And as the good book says, listen to those that give constructive criticism. They're the ones that's with you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and staff. The residential areas in Inglewood have a target on their back, whether you admit it or not. You have an ulterior motive, and it's trying to get those who have settled, the older people who are established in this community, who are homeowners, and you want to try to destroy our residential section, so we'll get so disgusted that we'll want to move. And that's evident by all of the 21st century and all the other real estate people that come knocking on our doors and leaving information in our mailboxes and on our porches every day. I see it. Most people don't. They're asleep. They are asleep. But I see where you're going, which direction you're going in. And we know who wants to come back into this community, and we see them coming back every day, jogging, biking, running. Billboards in the residential area is impossible. We've already gone through this fight. As everyone has told you, we've gone through this fight and we voted it down. But you guys, you want to come in here and destroy the residential communities. You won't admit it, but that's what it is. I'm not moving. And I hope none of my neighbors move. And I hope no one in our residential community whose mortgages aren't underwater move. We have to wake up, community, and know what the big plan is. It should be evident by what's going on at the forum. Notice the billboard at the forum. Who's being represented? Just who's being represented as far as the entertainment is concerned. Wake up! Don't let them take the chains off your ankles and wrap it around your brains. Wake up and see what's going on.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'd just like to make a few comments about the advertising. And when I first heard it, I needed to know more information about it, but this actually started some time ago when they started to talking about the digital signs and that sort of thing, and that's been more than a couple of years. This thing's been on the blocks a few times, and it's through the preparation of it. When I went away to school, I majored in marketing, and in marketing comes advertising, promotions, that sort of thing. And anytime you're making your city a point of destination, those things will follow immediately. And that's the whole sense of making money and doing the things that you need to progress this city. And that's what I see as coming. I don't know if most people see that, but what we're doing is we're preparing for the future. And the future is actually here. We're preparing for the day, well, you know, you're going to have all sorts of billboards and whatnot going around, and it's going to look nice and everything, and we're prepared for that. But also, it has to do with generating money in the city. And that's what we need to do. We need to generate the money because we're going to be responsible for bringing up the money, bringing in the money, asking people to buy in our neighborhoods, taking in the taxes from the signs that's coming in. Right now, there are no signs. They don't have anybody to advertise to or say anything to. We regulate the taxes in this city. We get the taxes from things that we have new things to get money from, and this is the source of new income for the city. This is the source of new income from the city, and this is just one of the sources that you develop when you develop a city of destination. In the past, we didn't have much to talk about but the Lakers. Well, LA's got the Lakers now. It's not much to talk about. But we have things to talk about, and we need to talk about them to people who have money, to people who might come to our city and spend money when all the things that we've developed and brought to our city is here, and they got their doors open and ringing the cash registers. We need to keep that money coming this way and pumping the cash registers and keep punching the keys until we can't pump no more.
Mrs. Gardner, District 1. Council members, I am a homeowner. I pay taxes. For 52 years, I've been a homeowner. I have lost the Inglewood that I moved to. There's not a theater. There's not a decent store of any kind to go to for a woman to shop for clothing. All you have is swap meets. When I moved here, there were 2 theaters, Academy and Fifth Avenue. What are they now? There was a Safeway. There was a Ralph's. There was a Sears. There was a J.C. Penney's. You could walk in and out of stores that were stores. Now, if you have someone come and visit, can you take them to a movie in Inglewood? You can go to swap meet stores all up and down the street. It's disgraceful, embarrassing. But I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay where I am, and I'm going to fight. I want you to know I'm back of the things that are possible to be had for homeowners. We're entitled to them. Our taxes have built this city, and it's tragic to see what our taxes have done for us. Now we have, someone made a comment about the Lakers. Yeah, they're gone. But what do we get instead? We get a few pennies that doesn't even pay the salary of our city manager, who makes more than the vice president of the United States for this little town. Oh, that's something to be proud of. It's embarrassing and disgraceful. There was a time when you people got minimum pay and it was a half-day job. And now it's a job whenever you want it to be. Back doors, upstairs, downstairs, wherever. And on any day that you choose where you can get away from community. Now you want to put some signs all up in people's face. So when they're driving along the street, they see some ridiculous signs. And that newspaper that we're paying all this money for, it's nothing but lies, gossip.
Ms. Gardner, your time's up, and we're talking about
I'll be
the
back
ordinance.
again. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I live here.
I appreciate that.
Hello, Mayor and City Councils. My name is Joy Smith. I'm a resident of District 1. I have been an Inglewood resident for over 50 years, just like the previous speaker. And I just want to say that looks like our city is kind of getting trashed up. In other words, when you talk about putting billboards all over the place, billboards are not in nice communities. You know, I'm a homeowner, residential. If you want your city to prosper, you have to make your residential areas as beautiful as possible so that people want to come here, they want to shop here, and things like that. All we get here to shop at is discount stores. As she said, we used to have nice stores here, but we don't anymore. And we are bombarded so much by commercialism that I don't look at, you know, you don't look at TV too much because you try and skip over the commercials. And I don't need to see commercials whenever I drive anywhere with billboards. I mean, we need money, but there's good ways to raise money and there's bad ways to raise money. We don't want to raise money by trashing our city. I live near Century Boulevard, but I have stopped driving on Century Boulevard because it's tearing up my car. I found out that my engine mounts are going to be getting loose and stuff like that. And it just pains me every time I drive on that street, which is the street that I have to take more than any other. I've been hearing for years that you're going to redo it. I guess you are one of these days. But it seems to me that, I don't know, that the city is being trashed up and kind of devalued with this measure for these billboards. We do not need more billboards in the city. We can find more creative ways to get money for the city, but don't trash it up, please. Thank you.
My name is Alfonso Parker Jr., Vietnam vet, 6667, conscious objector. I've been harping on this for the longest. A young man 2 weeks ago pointed at you and told you who I am, which I've been screaming and you're scratching your heads and twirling your head around like I'm an idiot. The only one you ever had was Nixon. I'm sorry, Bush. The point is, though, I've been screaming about money, cash flow. You're selling Inglewood out for bad money. There's good money and bad money. And you're bad moneying us to death. I've been telling you about that VA center out there, which is a private agency. That's not the VA. You got veterans housed out here on Inglewood property for 10 cents on the dollar.
Alfonso, you have to talk about
The money,
public hearing.
we're talking about money. This is a public issue. You're talking about where your money, how you signs to make money.
Sir, keep it to the public hearing, and then
Still to
then
make
you can
money.
have your 3 minutes at the end. So let's just talk.
Soliciting money.
No, this is billboards.
That's what billboards do.
Well, okay, but but it's about an ordinance to allow certain parcels to have graphics displays.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff, and fellow Inglewood citizens. I apologize for being late. Looks like I walked into a hornet's nest.
Not at all.
Okay, good. As the years have passed, we've gone round and round with billboards for years. And we all know the upsides. Okay, it generates revenue, but there's a downside to it. And there's been give and take on it, but there's never been a total fall one way or the other. And I would just ask this council just to be prudent, because we're Inglewood, we're not Las Vegas. We shouldn't try to be Las Vegas. And if, we could get, like I said, this word gets thrown around a lot, just transparency from the board as to how much money are we gonna make doing this? What are some of these billboards gonna look like? Maybe we can get a presentation or something of that sort. And, and then, if people can see a bigger view of the thing, perhaps, there may be more of a reason to support it, rather than you folks just making up your minds and doing it. Yeah, we elected you, you can do that, but remember, it's by the people, for the people, okay? So thank you for your time.
Mr. Davis, thank you very much.
Health Austin District 2. I have a comment on the billboards. First thing I want to say, I've been coming here for quite a long time. And yes, the billboards did come up. They did. Everyone, we had two, three people was against it. Now, the reason why is because they were obsolete. That was the reason, guys. They were tall, they were bulky, they were obsolete. And as I remember, Mayor Dawn left this open between the council on getting the new up-to-date billboards and not to put them in the residential area. If I'm wrong, please correct me, Mayor, Council. But I really remember this because we had a big thing about those billboards because they were using them for campaign purposes. And this is why they came up and we wanted to remove them. It's supposed to be one go down or something like that, or 10 go down or one whatever. But the contracts were so long, what you want to say, it was a mess. But if I remember, it was left open. Now, guys, we got to realize that when Scientology came, everyone should have known changes was coming in the next 5 years. That's not a church, the type of church that come here begging. They're like the Forum. They come here to build a city up. They have never come in this place and begged for nothing. So, change is gonna come, guys. We need those new billboards, but not in the residential area. All cities have them. Beverly Hills, Hollywood have them. Everywhere you go, they have them. But it's the modern billboards. Also, I want to say another thing someone said. Tell me if I'm wrong, Mayor. On the plan at Hollywood Park, all of this that we had at one time on Market Street is gonna be there. Guys, we gotta open our mind up and realize that this council and mayor is on their job. A lot of things they don't say because they don't want to count the chickens before they hatch. But we supposed to be getting skating rings. I remember all that we chose at Hollywood Park 15 years ago. So I've been coming long enough and I remember things. But we humping on the bad side when we should be on the good side. And I think we need billboards. We need like cars, like LAX Honda, they need a nice board. We should be near the freeway. Billboards should be there, but not in the residential area. It was banned not to go into the residential area. If I'm wrong, Mayor, am I wrong?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening once again. I am Stuart Bailey. I live in the 3rd District. And if I remember correctly, Mayor, about the billboards, we have a moratorium on any billboards being built in the city since the last time we've talked about this. And the last time we talked about it, we, as a city, agreed, well, you would say that we were going to have the digital ones, but strategically placed throughout the city. And that was the key words, strategically. We do not want to inundate the city with proliferation of billboards. We understand the residents, we hear the residents, y'all have heard the residents talk about they don't like them all over their city. They are a distraction. Some of them are just an eyesore. You heard that, and you, like you said, you haven't built or put up any new billboards. If anything, you've taken some down. Okay? So, the residents, please, just listen to what is being said. This is a continued public hearing to consider an amendment to Chapter 12, okay? So, yes, it's a continued hearing, so we can still re-emphasize what we've been saying all along. We do not want a proliferation of billboards in our city, okay? And this is just a continuation to hear this for the council so they can hear you as the citizens of Inglewood, and they will consider, like I said, just the graphic signs and in strategic places. We are not going to inundate the city because we know you love your community. These are my comments, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Good evening again, Roy Fisher, the 1st District. You know, I heard somebody say earlier that, you know, we had been over this again, just like we had with regard to these super graphics places like down here off the freeway and stuff. You know, I hear you then talking about, you know, it might make a little money for the city, that super graphic thing, I guess, you know, it's making money for the city. But, you know, I would much rather not see these things. I know that on Crenshaw and Manchester, over the gas station there, you know, they got big old billboards, stupid billboards, says dumb things. Over here off the Sizzler, behind the Sizzler there, they got some big old stupid billboard to say all this dumb stuff. And none of it's good for us. You know, I heard it said that some of these things would enhance this city. I don't see any of it enhancing the city or bringing anything to the city. If anything, it would bring monies and advertisements to other areas. We don't have anything to, you know, entice people into this city, you know. We have that casino over there where people go over there and gamble and lose their lives, lose their monies, lose their families, you know. We now have the Forum, Madison Square Gardens there, and we're all hoping that it will do well and make this city prosper. But these super graphic signs and these other billboards, we've said no to them before. But then again, you know, we said no to daytime meetings, but it seemed like this council has changed that because people used to want to come here, those who worked maybe at night and stuff. But I hope that you'll consider this. I don't see it being good for the city. If they have some little irregular lots or whatever, you know, I would rather see some little playground or something put on where the local kids can go and play on these little lots or whatever. But I don't see these billboards doing anything for the city but making it negative and, you know, enhancing advertisement for other people or other areas. We don't have anything here. We don't need those billboards. We don't need these super graphic signs. I know that's going to be the next part. That's my thoughts about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close public comment. I'll start council comments. I was going to start. I'll let you in just 1 minute.
Just wanted to make sure that Chris covers that these billboards will not be...
Councilman, let me, just give me a minute. All right. Mr. Jackson, this ordinance, it doesn't mandate we put a billboard at any particular location, does it? It still would go through the regulatory process, planning commission approvals, and ultimately council approval. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I want to read from this. The recommended changes to the IMC will allow for billboard exemption from the standards contained in Section 1280, billboard and off-site signs. If a billboard is developed as part of a project on any island, triangular, or irregularly shaped residentially zoned properties and meets the following conditions. The location must be limited to a major arterial street as identified in the Inglewood General Plan circulation element, and no advertising shall be directed towards any City of Inglewood residential use or school site. The city's several major arterials are Arborvitae, Centinela, Century Boulevard, Crenshaw Boulevard, Florence Avenue, Hawthorne Boulevard, Imperial Highway, La Brea Avenue, La Cienega Boulevard, Manchester Boulevard, and Prairie Avenue. The proposal will allow the placement on billboards on such properties to provide for additional public benefit opportunities. Mr. Jackson, are we net negative or net positive in billboard inventory over the last 3 years?
Negative.
Right. So there are less. So as Mr. Brown says, we're not the Mecca. We actually have not added, we've taken away billboards.
Right.
Is this designed for normal billboards or leaning towards super graphics?
This is,
It's open, it allows it, but it allows to have super graphics, is that correct?
it would allow for a larger billboard opportunity
Okay.
for properties that would qualify, yes.
Okay. And what's the purpose of identifying irregular triangularly shaped properties that face away from residential areas?
That significantly reduces the opportunity for billboards to be placed throughout the city. There are, according to the staff report back in 2009, only a few properties that would fall within those parameters, and those properties are generally difficult to develop with residential uses.
Okay. And even those properties would now not allow a sign, either regular or super graphics, to be faced toward a residential area, but
That's
only
correct.
towards a major arterial.
That's correct.
Okay? And is this an opportunity for the city to receive passive income? By that I mean to receive money that the city does nothing for except to regulate.
That's correct.
Okay. And is it a fact that we have raised the city's share from our super graphics displays from 25% to over 40% in the last 6 months?
That's correct.
Is it a fact that super graphics displays account for over $2 million in passive revenue to the general fund?
Per year, that's correct.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Well,
Councilman Dodson?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
I want to make sure
Okay.
the residents heard a good explanation.
All right.
So everybody leaves here with the right idea.
Councilman Morales?
I was here when we did our
Billboards and super
billboards and kind of, what is it called, amortization plan
Yes.
for the billboards, and I know we were shrinking, but the truth of the matter is, we were trying to address the fact that we were oversaturated in the residential areas, and the city was getting nothing.
That's correct.
That's really what was going on. Currently, billboards are a part of society. The only problem is that we're not getting anything out of it.
Thank you.
And if we don't have billboards at our outskirts of our cities, guess what? The minute we cross the street, there's a billboard somewhere that our residents are looking at, and somebody else is making the money. So this is actually, I mean, this is long overdue. We're in a different place now. We can start thinking about things as what they are. You know, the revenue that exists, this triangular shape, and I was gonna ask you, have you counted how many lots there actually are that would be identified?
Related to this particular amendment, there's 2 to 3 properties at the maximum
Right,
that would qualify.
and those properties, like you said, are limited, you can't put housing on it. There was a time when I think a car wash was contemplated there with
Correct.
traffic in the neighborhood. We know that nobody wanted it, so we didn't allow it. And you can't pigeonhole a property owner that way when there's an opportunity like this where the city can gain also the benefit. My point is that these items don't just happen to show up on an agenda. I mean, these are well-thought-out items which we've actually navigated through many of the issues. I understand that it looks like, okay, we're accepting billboards, but the truth of the matter is, those billboards are so limited as to their existence, and in terms of us getting a fair benefit for the city, I mean, these are things, the mayor mentioned a few $1 million from the super graphics, we'll talk more about that. The truth is, a few $1 million for a city like ours is big. Is big. I mean, we were talking about a few $100,000 keeping the preschools and the after-school programs open. This is something that a billboard like this has the opportunity to help us
10
do.
times over.
It's amazing, you know, once you really focus, and the way we protect the city is by limiting how many actually take effect. You know, we talk about how great our location is in the city of Inglewood, but we ourselves aren't willing to take advantage of that location. The fact that the 405 is there and the super graphics have done as well as they did, that's not a big, you know, secret as to why. The traffic up and down La Cienega Boulevard on that one triangular shape that I'm thinking about in my head, amazing that we have not capitalized on it. This is an opportunity to do so. You know, nothing is perfect, but this moves us towards some progress in a way that makes sense to the city. I mean, it's amazing. I had some other things to share. I'll say them when the super graphics is, but I have to say that, you know, this is actually long overdue. I really hope that, you know, we serve the public well by kind of focusing on when they come in to actually get that started, how we focus on it, what gets advertised, how big it is, et cetera. So that was it. Thank you so much.
Councilman Franklin?
Yes.
I saw you.
Since I was one of those also was here in 2009, I'm glad to hear that we were talking about new revenue streams as opposed to saying that we're just going to add a plethora of billboards, but we're still going to maintain the moratorium that we have, particularly the O areas, about relocating to new areas, and this is that avenue for it. It's interesting, many of us who have a few years under our belt that qualify as senior citizens, that we identify that time has changed, and we are now having to adapt to change. You vested this council to come up with revenue streams, so we quit knocking on your door about tax increases. They're saying you're paying the highest taxes in the South Bay, and we're coming up with ways to help litigate that or mitigate that, so then that way you can have it. So we didn't ask a number of the retail businesses that used to exist in the city to go away. They opted to go away because their financial stability was insolvent. So when you talk about the Sears, the Safeways, and I even go a little bit further, the Thrifty Marks and the Zodies that was here, they decided that we're not making money and we're going to leave, including the Giant back in the days. And now we have 2 movie theaters because now people feel, I'd rather go and stay home and watch all the movies I want 24/7 instead of having to go and just sit down there. Now we are bringing new movie theaters into the city in a different form, and it's more of an upscale. On February 6th, when we broke ground, we said that we want to bring in a better quality retail and particularly high end. Currently, we are faced with, and I heard a number of residents say, and you're exactly right, we are discount out. We have the food for less, pay less, food, smoke for less, and we had enough. And so now we're saying we are now rising to the occasion to say that there's a better vision that this council has and that we're moving forward. We're asking for you to get on board and help us motivate prospective developers. We have a number of developers knocking on our door. We want to give them the avenue to spend that money and leave it here. So therefore, we don't have to plague you on having to say we need more revenue in order to balance the budget by having to tax you with more money. Now instead, we're now saying you're coming into our community, you got to pay to play. The 25% was one, now we've elevated to 40%, and they're still saying, where do I sign up? And that's what we're talking about.
And he didn't mean pay to play, meant pay to participate.
Pay to participate, that's
All right.
correct.
Councilman Padilla. All right, just want to clear that up.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a couple of comments. First off, before I comment, I want to thank city staff, Linda and Chris. Thank you so much for your staff report and for the behind-the-scenes discussions that have taken place in order to get to this point. So thank you for that, you and your staff. I do want to tell the community that, you know, we hear you. This council is, and the mayor, we are committed to moving this city forward. The way we do that is we have to be creative and we have to think about revenue sources that are outside the box so that, as Councilman Franklin alluded to, we're not coming back to you to raise taxes. We don't want to do that. We're not looking to do that. But we have to be creative on other ways to increase our revenue source to sustain the things that we have going here in our community. That being said, we're not looking to proliferate this whole community with billboards. That's the farthest thing from our mind. But what we are looking for is taking advantage of opportunities that come to us, that are presented to us, so that we can help some of those property owners develop their properties and at the same time bring some revenue source to our community. We're not using this as a way to get people to move out of our city. God knows we want you to stay here. We want you to be here forever. We want businesses to be here, to come back here. You know, but the way we do that is we have to advertise all the good things that are going on in our community. And using billboards is one of many other avenues that exist. So this council is committed to making sure that people know that Inglewood is here. We're a vibrant community. We're moving forward, and we're asking for you to understand that the decisions that we make are not made in just a matter of minutes at a council meeting as tonight. These are decisions that we ponder and think about and discuss with staff for months. To get to this point didn't just happen earlier today. So when somebody comes up here and says, all I hear is I, you have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to that point, because it's more to it than that. What you do have is a council that's working together with the mayor and city staff and you, the residents and the business owners, to move the city forward. I've always said, Inglewood is not a place to drive through, but a place to drive to. And this is one more way of letting people know what we have in our community. So I just want you to know that we hear you, we're listening, and we're going to be making these decisions based on what we believe is the best decision to make for our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Move items 2 and 3. Madam City Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
And,
I introduce it.
okay.
Madam City Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a continued public hearing to consider an ordinance to amend Chapter 12 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to modify regulations related to super graphic displays.
Has the notice of the hearing been given in the time, form, and manner as required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice is given and affidavit is on file.
Is the complete file of the Planning Commission present?
Yes.
Sorry, Mayor. As to the last section, did you say move items 2 and 3?
Councilman introduced. Right. No, I'm all messed up. Have any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received.
Is there a staff report, Mr. City Manager? This is your showtime.
I'm sorry about that. Yes, again, our acting Economic and Community Development Director will introduce our speaker, Chris Jackson.
And again, yes, I did. Take it away, Chris.
Mr. Jackson, go right ahead.
Mayor Butts and members of the City Council. Again, by way of background, in March of 2010, City Council approved regulations to allow installation of supergraphic wall signs within 1,000 feet of a freeway pursuant to what we classified a negotiated agreement which provided for or provides for revenue sharing with the city. These regulations were very specific to the defined areas and not applicable to all areas of the city. Current supergraphic regulations require the City Council to approve a written agreement that is negotiated by the city manager and the applicant. The stipulations, as well as all other pertinent terms and conditions and compensation or fees to the city, must be included in the agreement. The council must ultimately approve the agreement. The City Council has approved 2 such agreements, one with Sky Posters in July of 2010, the other with Pearl Media in August of 2010. Both agreements were subsequently amended and extended, and these agreements have resulted in approximately $2 million per year to the city's general fund. As the City Council is aware, redevelopment agencies were abolished by the state. Unfortunately, this action did not address the state regulations related to Caltrans, nor the advertising displays that were exempted from redevelopment project areas. After the mayor, legal counsel, and staff worked diligently with our state legislators, on October 4th, 2013, Senate Bill 684 was signed into law and took effect immediately. These new regulations allows for and sets forth criteria for continuing the advertisement displays that advertise businesses and activities located or operated within the boundaries or limits of a redevelopment project area until January of 2023. The Senate bill also allows displays that advertise a product or service that is not located on-site to be treated as what we call on-premise displays. Now, the city classifies on-premise advertisement displays as a display that advertises a product or service that is sold on the site in which the advertising display is located. On-premise displays are exempt from the Outdoor Advertising Act and therefore the Senate bill that was recently passed. The city's current supergraphic regulations do not allow for on-site or on-premise advertisement, as it was never anticipated that the revenue source would be significant enough to warrant an agreement with the city. The applicant has viewed this restriction as detrimental to their business model and therefore are requesting that we consider modifications to our code. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to permit both types of advertisement to be permitted subject to the execution of an agreement with the city, and at the same time meet all other regulatory requirements. In January of 2014, the City Council approved 2 second amendments to the supergraphic agreements, which among other things extended the agreement and display for a period of 5 years with an option to extend it through the time period allowed by the Senate bill. The applicant has requested modification to the supergraphic wall regulations to accommodate their on-site display of its supergraphic business and operation. Of pointed interest are the 2 areas. One, they requested that we set a minimum size of the supergraphics at 5,000. Secondarily, they requested that we revise the regulations within our code to permit on-site supergraphic advertisements. After considering the applicant's request in November of 2013, the Planning Commission recommends to the council to reject the 5,000 square foot size limit, as they were convinced that that restriction was unnecessary in terms of, and would potentially eliminate the opportunity for certain supergraphics to be occurred on the sites where the agreements are existing. And then they also recommended to accept the modified language as set forth in your staff report. And we also forwarded through our city manager a strikeout version of that so you can see how that is affected by the Planning Commission's modification. Now, if this is approved, the amended sign regulations would relate to any business located on the site and would clarify the on-site business issue and afford the same opportunity to any business, whether on-site or off-site, to be able to negotiate a sign agreement. Additionally, the Planning Commission also determined that the municipal code should be modified to bring into conformance with the Senate bill, and including elimination of references to Caltrans. Also, as contained in your staff report, the Planning Commission recommended that there be some cleanup changes. I'll quickly run through those. First thing was to redefine the fact that the billboard definition as it relates to super graphics to be removed, as it is not a super graphic. Not a billboard, it's a super graphic, so those two are not the same. They're actually mutually exclusive. And then two, to reference off-site super graphic wall sign, we're asking asking the council to remove that specific language so that it would open up and really just deal with the issue of a super graphic. Third was the consistent use of terms. They wanted to take this opportunity along with staff to clean up some of the regulations so that we're consistent in our use of terms. And then fourthly, to bring our sign fee portion of our code, which says a minimum of 25%, up into our standard now. As you already indicated, we were able, through the agreement of our sign applicants, to increase the fees from 25% to 40%, a significant increase in revenue to the city. Fifthly was to eliminate the highway designation so there's no confusion. We're not talking about highways, we're talking about freeways. So we just want that clear. And then there was a reimbursement. Sixth issue was to reimburse the hourly staff rate, not necessarily at a particular amount, but to make sure that staff and the city is made whole in the costs associated with negotiating the agreement. And then finally was to delete the reference of the permitting process that was referred to by Caltrans that is no longer applicable due to the elimination of the redevelopment agencies. That concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Any members of the public that would like to comment?
You know, if I heard staff correctly, this will allow anybody who has a business, I guess, to have a super graphic on their property. Is that correct? Is that what I heard? And if it is, then the super graphics that they have on their own property, I don't see that the city would be getting anything at all from it because it is an advertisement on their own property. You know, this other thing with regard to these super graphics, we talked about that before and talked about keeping it over there by the freeway, but now it seems like maybe you're trying to open it up for any part of the city, maybe going down Florence with Metro Rail or so. And, you know, I was concerned before with regard to the billboards because they said that there was only 3 or maybe 4 areas where those billboards might be. You know, maybe it defines in your information where those places are, but I don't know where there are. But, you know, you said major thoroughfares, and I know that there's a triangular property on Crenshaw and Crenshaw Drive and Crenshaw, and I would hate to see some kind of super graphic be allowed to put in an area like that because there's a curve there and people travel there rather fast, and you know, if that's an area where it could be allowed, I think it's truly wrong. Again, these areas with regard to super graphics, if they're over near the freeway, and we're going to make some money, I don't see, a grand problem with it. But when you start bringing it into the city where it could impact people negatively, I
Folks,
think it's
could we
wrong.
talk in the audience? Go ahead, I'm sorry, Mr. Fisher.
And then you also talked about, how it's going to bring all this monies into us and stop for taxes. I would say to you all that we are wise enough in the city, that we're not going to allow your tax on us anymore at any rate. So that is a misnomer to any of you who think that you could come with another idea of tax, because I think people are all apprised of the games with regard to taxes and getting money so you can continue to get the salaries that you get, more than any other city in the South.
Thank you, Mr.
pay
Fisher.
Your salaries.
Thank you.
Gil Matthew, District 4. I just have a few questions about the super graphics. These are signs that's extended from buildings vertically, and I remember they had some problems in L.A. with that, either about permits or where it was extended from buildings, but these buildings were 7, 8 stories. And I think we had some before on La Cienega, and I don't know what the problem was. And but is this limited to buildings of certain stories and not on mom and pop shops? And I didn't quite understand when he gave the presentation. But if in fact it's on buildings, say of 5, 7 stories, and I don't think we would have a problem with that. And it would be a good passive income. But I'm not clear on having it on regular buildings with signs, and then kind of explain what is the graphic sign. Is extended from the top of a building down, or that's exactly what it is. I've seen some downtown L.A., but it's been removed, particularly around the business area downtown. It was years ago when I've seen it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Joyce Smith again. It appears to me that by the time something is put on this paper, you already know that you're going to do it. In other words, you have made up your mind that you're going to do it because it brings revenue to the city and so on. And my question is that when you talk about these super graphics billboards, will the residents have any say-so in where they are or how big they are, or maybe we don't want them at all? When do we get a chance to say, to approve it or not approve it or anything? Or is it just your decision and you do what you want to do, and no matter what we say, you're going to do it? That's the way it appears to me. But is there any avenue for the residents to, once the billboard is proposed, that maybe the residents don't want it there? Well, what can we do to have some input into where these signs are going to be, how many of them there are, how big they are? I mean, we don't know anything. All we know is that you're going to do them. But when do we have some input into, what these, like I say, how many, where, whatever, what, in the decision? Do we have any say-so at all?
Same regulatory process as the Planning Commission. Anytime that there's a hearing about a zoning change, right now, you have input right now from the beginning to the placement, and you do have input.
But the Planning Commission is the place to go if you, to get specifics on these things? Is it the
Well,
Planning
actually, when
Commission?
it's proposed, that's when it would come before the Planning Commission, and you would have an opportunity there. You also have the opportunity to talk to your council representative. That's why you elect them. You have.
Well, put me on record that I'm very,
And right now, you have your input right now, and I hear you.
well, I just hope that,
So please give
to
your
me,
input right now.
to me, you guys all act together and you've made up your mind. By the time it comes on here, it's a done deal and this sort of thing. That's the impression I get. So I would like to see what's going to happen with these billboards. I will be watching.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Butts, council, and staff. My name's Jared Helt. I'm the person who requested the modification. I just wanted to thank Chris Jackson for his staff report and let you know that I'm here for questions if you have any.
Okay, not right now. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, okay.
Council members, the way I heard Mr. Johnson make his report, up until right now, super graphics were considered billboards. So yes, since we did have super graphics, we did have a giant billboard, by his statement just a few minutes ago. So that prior attempt to bash me, not so good. But anyway, let's go back to the questions that you have just been given that, well, maybe were not articulated quite so well, because I don't think the staff report presented many items that I believe it should have. But then again, you all individually discussed it, made your decision, and we know that you will vote 5-0 simply because since you've all been sitting here in this composite group, I think on 2 occasions it has not been 5-0 in the entire year. So, does she get input as to what's on that billboard? No.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
She never will. You don't need to respond to me. This is my time to
No,
speak.
you're right.
Absolutely. It is my time to speak. I have 3 minutes, and I would appreciate that to be uninterrupted. If you want to give me more time at the end of the meeting to engage in a dialogue, fine. But right now, this is my time to speak. Or be silent, because it's still my time. Content neutrality should be what we observe in this room. It is not. But more importantly, once anyone decides to put something on that super graphic allowed space, we, the residents, will not have the opportunity to say, no, we don't want bare, 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 nude, nude, nude. We will not, because that never comes before the Planning Commission. We can hope that the planning commissioners would use good judgment, but at a couple meetings ago, one of them didn't even know where the super graphics were. And yet he lives right front on the top of Century, that if he looked down and saw that humongous building, he should have known that was a super graphic. But he did not. At least that's what he stated in a planning commission meeting. So while you go about and make these decisions without considering that we, the residents, might like some input to it, you've just said, we don't count. But we already knew that, because it's going to be 5-0. Probably now until at least, well, I don't know. When's the next election?
So much control. Come up forward, Mr. Brass. I said, please come forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff. I'm Ted Brass, District 2, and I don't know whether I'm really missing something, or I'll just say I'll use my business intuitiveness in terms of just basically surmising, and of course I read some comments overall, but I think that staff has done a wonderful job in analyzing and taking the opportunity on both PH1 and PH2 to amend Chapter 12. First of all, to put some guidelines that's going to allow the city to benefit from, and to regulate the signs, the super graphics, the banners that, billboards and super graphics that will go up, in this case, the super graphics. I think that's one of the most important elements in this whole proposal to amend. Just as in the permitting process, when you're building, just as we did pass, increase the fees, centralize some of the things that took place in the building department, all of these things are moving forward to the 21st century and to bring Inglewood in compliance with what's happening all around us. I see it. Everyone sees it. So I am not standing here to debate what someone else has said, but it's just my own personal opinion that it is good for the city and it's good for the citizens because it regulates, it brings revenue as a result of the usage there. It's the inevitable. Those signs are going to be, they're going to come. The super graphics are things of the future.
This is the last time. Everyone is quiet while you talk. Please don't talk in the audience. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Brass. Who was that? Excuse me. I want you please to be as courteous to Mr. Brass as he has been to you. So please, if you want to talk, go out in the hallway. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Brass.
Yes, thank you. I think that it's an opportunity for the city and staff, which so eloquently enumerated those changes and made recommendations, to make sure that it's done respectfully, it's done in good taste, and that it's done professionally and with guidelines. I see this as an opportunity to regulate those things and to make sure that it is all done good and proper, because once again, it is the inevitable. The signage, those things, the super graphics, that's the wave of the future. So certainly we can either participate or we can sit and watch and see it pass us by. So certainly I feel that those things and the comments certainly support it, and I'm truly in favor of it. I live in Inglewood. I do not want my community or my city or my street just graphics everything out to pots, but once again, I know that there are those changes that are inevitable, and if the guidelines, it's regulated, then certainly I think it's going to be good for the city as well.
Thank you. I gave you some extra time because I interrupted you, Mr. Brass.
Okay, guys, District 2. I need to ask you all a question, Mayor. This billboard, isn't that the area on La Cienega by our District 2? Is that the district?
There is a parcel there that fits this regulation. It's at Fairview and La Cienega, the old thrifty gas station.
So, okay, the reason why I ask, it's been 18 years. And I know everybody here knows. 18 years. We have been trying to get something over there. That thing been an eyesore, has been eyesores, bodies, everything. We had and Alex, you remember, we walked and we did everything to try to get something on that corner. Why is it everyone is so negative when no one lives on that corner? That corner is a commercial corner. When I come up here, I'm not coming to badger no one. I'm coming to explain the things to the public. So therefore, like Mr. Brass came up here, he's in real estate. I can't speak on his level, but I can speak on a modern, everyday person-to-person level. The council, the mayor speaks a higher level than I do. Not that I'm not educated, I am. But I'm a people person, I'm a hands-on. And when I say things, it's real. Now, I remember all of this stuff. I remember that oil company, all that stuff about pulling up the tanks. Why is it so hard for the people to just try and work with this council? Now, that's our district, Alex. We need something there. We need something that'll make that area, also that the corner of La Cienega, they was gonna throw a parking lot there. For what? It's parking at Fridays. Tons of parking. Sheriff Department right there. Mayor close to the sheriff's. Hey, this city backs us up 100%, the sheriff's department. What else could we ask for? I think this is a good idea to get a sign, big as you could get it. Seriously, when people coming down La Cienega driving 60 miles an hour, you want to see things. We need something. At one time, we was trying to think of an idea before y'all changed the zone, Linda. Good job. To put something there. Remember that? To enter Inglewood. We need something to let the people know, all right, now you coming in the city of Inglewood. Ain't no more land of the champions. It's the land of the best council and the mayor. I speak and I spoke what I need to say. Positive.
Michael Benbow, First District. I think this item is really an old item, and we've been bringing it up time and time again. We've been talking about what it should be about, the dimensions of it, what the public is concerned about, the super graphics and everything, and all that's been read into what we're considering. I mean, it's already been defined, and everything that the citizens were concerned about is in it and defined in it. All you have to do is either remember it or research it. It's there. And I've sat here and I've come to many, many meetings, and I've recognized what has been said in there and about the type of land that it'd be on and who it's advertising to and that sort of thing, and avoiding the residential areas and all that. All that is there. All we need to do is proceed with what we're doing, collect the money, redevelop the city like we had planned to do, build the entities and the places that we're planning to do, such that we'll have something for these signs to point to and say, that's where you need to go and spend all your money. Don't take any money back home, and we will revenue ourselves out of here. I mean, we'll make so much money with that. We're just been preparing for it. We've been preparing for it for a long time. And now is the time that we just need to do our due diligence and get it on the road. And there's really no argument here, because the things that we're talking about and the people that are concerned are talking about is already written into it. So I'm just, once again, saying that I understand what you're saying. It's there. And once we look at it and read it and understand it, it's a go.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. Is there any council comment? If not, we'll.
Mayor, I'd like to comment.
Councilman Franklin.
Yes, I just want to clarify a couple of things. There was remarks made by a resident that was focusing on a particular intersection of Fairview and La Cienega. And I just want them to know that that is not this particular item that we are here to discuss. That item was the previous one that fell under the billboards on an island. What we're here to discuss is with reference to super graphics, of which that is near the freeway, which is within 1,000 feet of a boulevard. And I'm glad to hear staff caught on the fact that we needed to remove the words "or highway," because residents, and I heard a resident speak particularly in District 1, that Manchester Highway 42 is a highway. And so you're talking about 1,000 feet from that highway. And so by removing that word "highway," takes away that concern the residents may have that that may be a highway within 1,000 feet of putting a super graphic sign. That is not the issue, but rather it is 1,000 feet from the freeway. And I also want to stress the fact that, in fact, I'll reach out to my colleague, Councilman Morales, and we are the ones that fought hard to get super graphics for the city of Inglewood, because when we were dealing in 2010 with the revenue cutbacks and the reduction and potential layoffs, we had to come up with other revenue. And that money in itself helped us sustain the need for staffing for the graffiti removal on our properties. And that's just one of many of the items that we have talked about, including the parks staffing as well, that funds assisted us. So this is what we're talking about, and what we want to make sure that we solidify that by making the amendments. And I personally want to thank the mayor, city manager, our city attorney, and our outside legal counsel that went up to Sacramento to fight for us, because they were going to disallow us to continue to have super graphics, period. They have reached a sunset date, and we fought with the mayor champion in this city for another decade of being able to have the super graphics available to us to have this revenue that we was about to lose. Sacramento is not playing fair, and if we don't roll up our sleeves and have the ammunition prepared with loaded guns to go up there and say, here's our arguments, and we had viable arguments to sustain our position and economic boost for our city, we lose it. But because we had heads up, we had people and friends in Sacramento, both Assembly side as well as the Senate side, that said, we're here to make a difference. They recognize they represent our city, and they help sustain us to be able to keep this. And I thank the mayor and the staff that all made it possible. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Morales?
Thank you. Just to add on to that, that's right. When we first passed this, it took a lot to go. The industry had offered, I think, contemplated it started at 6%. We actually got 25%, which was great. What we did for the city, we're up to 40%. Now approximately, it's gotta be, at the time, I believe we were one of the best contracts out there at 25%, 40%. I'm pretty sure there's very few cities, if any, that have a better deal than that. And then this is your opportunity to speak. Now, the reason is because once we pass this ordinance, it's very, this type of business, you can't come in and check in every time you're gonna put up a new billboard. Why? Because these are long-term contracts. Long-term contracts with Sony, long-term contracts with Disney for the movies, the Fox, NFL Network. These are year-long. So they need to be able to commit to that. There's rules and regulations that dictate what they can put up. But those are things that happen. What I wanted to say was that this plan, this strategy to continue bringing this revenue started over a year ago when we first started meeting on it. So and I hear you when you say, it sounds like you've already made up your mind, you've already looked into it. I have to tell you, if we're up here and we haven't looked into it to the point where we've done our research and diligently really studied this issue, we don't belong up here, and it's right. Most of the time we've studied it so much, we've seen so much of the item that we're ready to go. So I just wanted to point those things out, and this has been a big plus for the city.
Councilman Padilla?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I know the mayor touched on it and covered it, but I just want to reiterate that when you're looking to provide your input, it's not only provided here at the council meeting, you also have an opportunity to provide your input by reaching out to your council member individually to let them know what your concerns are about anything that comes in front of council. We had somebody talk earlier about you need to go to hold these community meetings over at, I think they said Morningside High School. Well, look, we attend, the mayor and the council attend tons of community meetings, and we do that because we want to hear what people have to say, and we don't just do it before a council meeting, we do it throughout the year. That's why we have our town hall meetings. That's why we attend block clubs. That's why when, the summer comes and folks are having their block club barbecues, we go to those as well. It's so that we can attend those. And I'm not just talking about the mayor and the council that attends them, city staff that's up here attends those as well. Because we care and we want to listen to what you have to say about what's happening in your community, in our community. So please don't think that your only opportunity is to come up here and you get your 3 minutes to talk. You can reach out to us anytime you need to, and we're all very good at responding back to you. So I just want to make that clear that these are not decisions that are just made nilly-willy at the council meeting.
Or,
Just,
or willy-nilly.
or willy-nilly, his brother. But anyway, again, on that note, Mr. Jackson, Ms. Tatum, thank you so much for your staff report.
Okay, I want to give a clarification. When I answered the lady that asked about input, I was more referring to PH1, and I apologize for that. The PH2 is more administrative, runs through the city manager's office. And as to your concerns about what will be on the signs, the planning commission has already specified no nudity, alcohol, drugs, or tobacco will be in the advertising. So those are the restrictions. Other than that, they're open, what might be advertised. I am, well, when I get finished, sure. Okay. Sometimes I go out of order. Every time, right, they grow up. Right? Anyway, so there are restrictions on what can go on them, and I want to piggyback on what Councilman Morales and Councilman Franklin have talked about. The reality is that we have come to a situation in the city where we don't have to depend on redevelopment handouts to attract people to do business in the city and spend money. The fact that someone who could generate over $1 million a year would willingly give 40% of that to the city of Inglewood speaks volumes about our sudden attractiveness. And the reality is this, that I do hear people complain about what we don't have and things that aren't done, and then when the council finds innovative, out-of-the-box ways to try and restore and generate revenues, then there's criticism. And I think that's a bit short-sighted. The reality is that I've never heard one single complaint about a Silver Graphics billboard ever in 3 years. And I sure don't hear any complaints about the 25 to 30 city employees that revenue funds to provide services for the community. So I just think that there comes a point where you have to be realistic that this is the business of being in the business for you, for the residents. And this is a passive income stream that the city does not a thing for to receive 40% of the gross. Who do you know that offers a product and gives you 40% for being nothing but the regulator? Doesn't happen. So with that, Councilman Dotson, we are now waiting. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All right, thank
I'm so
you.
sorry.
All right.
But I did want to say, after 20 years serving on the Planning Commission, I have great respect for that department. And I know what it took to get this billboard ordinance to the City Council. And the young lady who said that how she could get input, there are two ways you can get input. First of all, the Planning Commission meets once every month. I think it's the first Wednesday of the month. You can go to that meeting. They have these public hearings. Get your input in. Then when it comes to City Council, there's another public hearing. You can get that input in. But let me tell you, when it goes through that planning department and that planning commission, this ordinance and this sign ordinance has been thoroughly vetted. They do their homework. I know when I was on the commission, we not only read the staff report and got that information, we went to the actual site to see where this particular whatever was going to go. So I want the citizens to know you have a great staff in that planning staff, and you have a great planning commission. And as far as us, it's because we come to work. I come to work, I go to staff, and I discuss what any particular item that's on this agenda. They give me a staff report, I read that staff report. I have any questions, I can go to any department here and get an explanation. And every man on this council does the same thing. That's why it's I. It's not because we just want to say I. Why should we say nay if you agree? Maybe you got used to that. But that's not going to happen here. We're not going to argue and fuss and fight. We're going to read our agenda. We're going to go to the different departments. We're going to get the information we need to make a common decision, and that's what we will do. That's what we were elected to do, and that's what we will do. And we don't just work on Monday, Tuesday to Friday. We work Saturday, sometime even Sunday. So, you know, let's keep it real. Before I got here, you could tell me that because I didn't know. But now when people call me to come to a meeting on Saturday or go to their church on Sunday, my day doesn't end on Friday night. Sometimes it's just beginning, and I'm sure it's with everybody on this deal. So with that, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, Councilman Dotson. We appreciate it. And one more thing that, you know, let's go to this II thing. The reality is that we've had council people that acted like when they got up here on Tuesday night or Tuesday day, it's the first time they ever saw an item. That's not getting your money's worth. So if you miss that, it's gone. People do their homework before they get here. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, move the motion to waive further reading.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales. Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay. Consent calendars, item 3, 4, and 5. I want to pull 4.
Second.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales. Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye. Can we just have a brief explanation from Ms. Barnes about how this donation works? Hello, Ms. Barnes.
Good evening, Mayor. I didn't hear your question.
Oh, just briefly, just an explanation of how this will be paid for, this modification, this upgrade to the Inglewood Playhouse and the snack bar.
Sure. All of the materials, the labor, everything needed to facilitate the improvements will be taken care of by Clark Construction. There's no cost to the city's general fund.
Thank you. And could you give us an idea of the extent of the modifications? For the Playhouse, just for the Playhouse.
Sure. The Playhouse, which is a 55-seat theater, we will be improving the seating, the lighting, the windows, the ceiling tiles, doing an overall interior improvement as well as some improvements to the outside such that we bring it up to an awesome place. We're excited about what it's going to look like and feel like it's been closed for a really long time. I know you didn't ask for all that. But those are some of the
Okay, and
improvements.
again, this is going to cost us how much?
It's just under $130,000. It's not going to cost the city anything.
That's the question.
It's costing the city zero.
There's the question.
Yes.
All right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I move item 4.
Just a comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just for a point of clarity, the $130,000 is going to be absorbed as in-kind from Clark, but it's still our obligation to make sure it's in compliance with ADA.
Absolutely. And they are required to adhere to all codes and permits and what have you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye. DR1.
Staff report recommending approval to submit a Metro Open Street grant application to hold a street bicycling event in Inglewood.
Move 1 and 2.
Second.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye. A1.
Thank you, Mayor. Closed session item number 1, closed session conference with labor negotiators. 54957.68 with the various labor groups in the city. Party fields, city manager. Discussion was held and no final action was taken. Session regarding the claim of walk, alter, and nightmare. Request for a motion to approve payment.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Thank you. That's the last item, CS3, was closed session regarding the claim of George Mallory and Associates. Request for a motion to approve payment.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin. Mayor Buds.
Aye.
No oral report from the city attorney.
CM1?
Yes, Mayor and City Council, I'd like to use my time to congratulate 4 Inglewood area senior citizens who were appointed to the prestigious State of California California Senior Leadership Program, and they are Betty Johnson, Elizabeth Payne, Maxine Toller, and Tracy Crenshaw. I'm sorry, Tricia Crenshaw, thank you. They're among 30 residents statewide that were appointed to these positions, and I think we should be very honored to have them represent our city, and to actually have 4 appointed as opposed to 1. I think that speaks loudly to the quality of the people that we have serving on our commissions and serving our city.
Especially since it's statewide.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. CC1,
No comments, Mayor, thank you.
all right. Public comments. Any person wish to address the city, CT1, there will be no report. Person wish to address the city council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered may do so at this time. Alfonso?
Yes, my name is Alfonso Parker Jr., Vietnam vet, 6667, also a conscious objector. I'm alive talking to you because of my God. People have been laughing at me and clowning around. We have a VFW comrade now. Somebody finally told him he's out of misconduct in his uniform and his cover to sit back there and wave his finger. He's in civilian clothes. Now he can be all he can be, only in America. But with that cover and uniform representing the military, he's out of uniform and he should have been, could have been court-martialed and whatever. But somebody pulled his coattail, so he dressed as a civilian. He's like me now. The young man spoke 2 weeks ago. You people been sitting here swiveling your head around just like you're bored. I had to leave here because I was about to go off on every damn thing in this building as long as I've been dealing with this mess since 1995 for my benefits. Now I can talk. Maxine Waters, all you advocacies, nonprofits, you are domestic terrorists thanks to the Bushes. You've also been involved in treason, espionage, and racketeering to do what you do to the veterans. Every veteran that ever served this country, we the people, God and country. Nobody, no president, no commander-in-chief, that goes from Obama on back to Nixon, has the right. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury, Condoleezza Rice, Clinton, Madeleine Albright. None of you, from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, can violate any American citizen's constitutional rights under the guise of, what you call it? Huh? What do you call it? You try yourselves, you set it up in the 70s. It's treason. You can call yourself whatever you want to call it. Try yourself because you done something wrong, stole some money. Treason is treason. It always has been. You need to go read the Constitution again and throw the Bill of Rights in there while you're at it. Now, I'm going to talk to you. AARP, Disabled American Veterans, the United States Army, has been trashing records since the first peacetime draft of 1941. They've been trashing your father's and your grandfather's records. It's what they do. And as I speak to you now with this new, according to Ryan Paul, or whoever that Republican vice president ran against Clinton, Obama, the new young guns, as I speak to you, they don't know how to quit. They are doing it now. They just keep from one phase to another. I'm going to run this crap down your throat until I choke you with it. Shit, fart, or piss. I'm going to drown you in this.
Okay. Well, we're at time right now.
Okay? I'm going to drown you in it.
We're at
My
time.
meeting,
We're at time.
1137 Redondo Boulevard
His arm.
and West Boulevard. Come see me. Bring everything they gave you, even trash. Their trash is evidence. And I'll show you when it was done, how it
Time
was done,
to
and who done it.
call it a night.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Joseph Texera. I had planned to talk about the city clerk and how she's been misleading the public. I'll talk about that later. I think it's important for me to address some of the things that some of the people said. One, it's sad that the people that support this mayor usually don't know what they're talking about. You can like the forum, you can like signs, you can like whatever, but when you're really saying, oh, this mayor or this paper is good, I'm sorry, but you're just not too bright. Mr. Bailey says that, oh, give us some proof, but minutes before he spoke, I told you to go on the internet and look at a half-an-hour video. And if he had the actual desire to look at the legal proof, he can go down to the courthouse, look at both my declarations, the declarations of Alex Padilla and Willie Brown and David Rice, and see how they misled the court. And they can look at my attorney's legal arguments. So if you're really interested in the proof, you know, you just don't want to show up and yak, yak, yak so you can get invited to a Christmas party or something, then just don't make yourself look stupid. Research it, listen to what people are saying before you respond. As to complaints, people complain about the same thing. I'm sorry, but in this nation, very few things get fixed. Voting, civil rights, they don't get fixed in one council meeting. People that think that you complain once and then you've reached some expiration date, again, not too bright. Don't know anything about the country that they live in. Now, as far as the mayor cuts some people off from speaking because they're not talking about the agenda, but then Mr. Bailey gets up and goes, I'm going to rebut Mr. Texera. The mayor has to tell him what to say so that he can actually be technically under the agenda items, and then he strays far afield of anything having to do with the agenda, but if somebody else does it, the mayor sits him down. He's a hypocrite. And the mayor tells Mr. Zambrano, oh, you know, everybody let you speak, and not minutes earlier, the mayor repeatedly just interrupted her. What kind of hypocrite are you? Don't you listen to what you're saying? Somebody does something, you do the same thing you're complaining about, but you think nobody else hears what you did? Again, not too bright. As a kind of a preparation for my statements the next time I'm able to be here, this is a request for public documents I've submitted to the clerk's office. I think tomorrow or Thursday will be the legal cutoff for when they're supposed to respond to this. I haven't heard anything yet, and the clerk's office repeatedly violates the law, and this looks like this is just going to be another explanation, another demonstration of that.
Thank you once again, Mr. Texera. Mr. Brown, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I'm here to request 2 certifications or recognitions to 2 icons. On Sunday, March 9th, Pastor Luther Keith and his lovely wife celebrated a 39-year anniversary, and they are icon, and I would like to see, I called Councilman Franklin's office, and I did talk to his assistant, and to see that Pastor Key, who has been an icon in District 4, will be recognized. In District 2, on April 5th, 2014, Anita Biggs. Who's Anita Biggs? She is the president of the American Legion Auxiliary for the state of California, the second African-American lady. And she's moving into Councilman Padilla's area, and I hope to be able to bring a fourth, and I'd like to see her to be recognized. But lastly, I was sitting with my grandbaby on Friday night, and unexpectedly we had a shake and earthquake. And why I'm here tonight is that I'm asking the question is, how prepared is our city? What schools or designated shelters do we have? We have a planning committee, traffic committee, parks and rec. What about a disaster committee? And their duties will be to inform our city and prepare. Many of us sitting in this audience don't even have emergency disaster kits. See, our city sits on the Newport Beach fault. If you look on it, go on the internet and read it up on there, that is one of the strongest faults in the state of California. So my reason here is just to be as awareness and hoping that our city will provide information. We have newspapers and all where making our residents aware of what might happen. We don't want to be another city of Northridge, and I look forward to your response. Thank you.
Once again, I'm Stuart Bailey. Hello, Mayor, staff, and council. And to answer that young man's question, Mr. Michael Falco is in charge of our disaster relief program for the city of Inglewood. Michael Falco. Okay, now, Mayor, I'm here about a very dangerous situation that happened in the city with our schools. This is, as they would say, as the city goes, or as the school goes, the city goes. The school board on the school kids, and they went on a retreat in San Diego, spent $38,000, $9,000 on a motivational speaker, and this is truly sad. Our school district is in censorship, and we know that the council can't say anything about the school board because they don't associate with us. It's federal or state. But we as a council can also complain about what these individuals have done to ruin our progress for the city. Now, they've given us a black eye with this because it was announced on the news, and if we're an up-and-coming city, this has to be eradicated. There are certain administrators, certain principals that are in our schools that do not care about our children, obviously. If you're going to spend this kind of money that the school board does not have, what does that say? What does that say about us as adults that look out for these children, or even parents that are supposed to look out for the interest of their own child's welfare and education? It doesn't say too much about us as well, because we have to take a bulk of this outlandish behavior by people that we hope entrust our children lives, their livelihoods, their futures, shape these people into good citizens and things. So we have failed, and I hate to say it like that, but we did. And now we have the opportunity as a community or a city, Inglewood, California, to go and say to our state legislators, as well as our federal, and because we do get federal funding for our schools, to say money denied to the Inglewood school districts because they cannot manage their money. We have to have somebody besides the person we have, I say a federal mediator from the IRS, to count our money so that our children can have a better future. I say these, I have more, but my time is limited, so thank you, and everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Aldine Sly, District 1. Councilman Dodson, you were our block club president for years. You were over the planning commission for years. When I come to these city council meetings, and now you're our city councilman, when I come to these city council meetings, I don't expect the council in a subtle way to reprimand the citizens. We have not mismanaged anything. We pay our taxes on time. We vote you into office to do our bidding, but you never inquire what we want. You tell us what you're going to do. We haven't mismanaged our money, but our money has been mismanaged. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the condition that we're in today. And running after hill and dale to bring funds into this city. If the money was managed correctly, like other cities, we wouldn't be in this hole that we're in. Lapses of getting forms into wherever they're supposed to be on time. But you want to reprimand the citizens for coming up here and expressing their anger, their doubt about you. We've lived a long time in this city, and we haven't seen anything that represents what our tax dollars are being used for. The forum, that's the shining thing right now, but no, we need infrastructure, pavement, roads, sidewalks. We need a YMCA for our children. And you know, there's a saying that says, any city or country that hates their kids has no future. So don't depend on this forum to bring in all the money that you need, and billboards to bring in all the money that you need. We need leadership, and we need people who know how to manage the money that the citizens give them to manage for us. And like someone said, this is only supposed to be a temporary, a part-time job for you. Other councils that worked, they had other jobs. This was a part-time job. But most of our tax dollars seem to be going in to your pockets. We need to change this. We need to change it, and change it immediately.
Looks like you got part-time results before, too.
I didn't hear that comment, but I'm not taking back anything that I had to say.
Oh, I wasn't asking you to. Go ahead, Ms. Gardner.
Mrs. Gardner, District 1. I have known George Dotson since he first moved in Inglewood. I called on him and his family and welcomed them to the neighborhood. And that can be corrected by him. It can be told by him. It's a truthful statement. However, he failed when it came to leadership. George Dotson, Councilman Dotson, name him however, he never came to these council meetings because he was at the ICOP house misleading community people, talking about what? Christmas decorations, street party, collecting dues, etc. People that are here with regularity, you did not see George Dotson here. He knew what was going on. Why? Because he was prompted from the outside. He reminds me of that head sheep that's trained to lead all the other sheep in, be slaughtered, and then he runs back out. That's the role he has played. George Dotson was on committees through all the other mayors. It's only with Mayor Butts that he was needed to conclude the 5-man or 5 council persons vote. He was overlooked until he was needed to fill that spot. He has not shown leadership to his community, and I cannot give him credit for that. He was never there when he was needed, and he's only here now because he certifies the 5-person vote.
Ray Davis, 2nd District, Mayor, City Council, staff. Just, to sum up my feelings about this meeting and things that have been said, things going back and forth. We're your community or what? I guess that's the way I'll sum it up. My fellow citizens, before I came down here, I was actually watching something on DVD. It was called The Story of Us. It was the history of mankind, and it was touching on stuff that happened all across history and how there were lightning points and things that seemed so insignificant at the time changed the course of history. They touched on this march that happened in Selma. These people were marching, for voting rights in the South. And I remember sitting there and said, you know, somebody could ask them, why do you stay in the South? Unless there's gold on the streets, why would you stay there? Move. Heck, my father did. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. He was in Jacksonville. He decided he was not going to raise a family in the South. What I'm trying to make is, don't tell people, if you don't like it here, move. No, this is everybody's town. People, come on. We're adults. Let's be above that. And for, you know, guys, I would tell the mayor and city council, you know, let's try to keep it distinguished. I mean, you know, folks are going to have negative criticisms. I have them. But how do you say, have I ever been disrespectful? No. And I hope that you won't be disrespectful back towards Scissory. If, you know, folks are saying I, okay. All I need to know from my representative is he's his own man, and that if something comes across the board, he's going to say no if it's not what he thinks it should be. That's the only concern I have. You know, but what's happened in the city with my last 50 seconds, yeah, folks, let's get it out in the open. Because of low turnouts for voting and, you know, suspicions about who gave contributions to who, people think that people have been bought. Let's just get it out there, guys. And so it's up to the people. I've been saying this for 15 years. You get the leadership you deserve, whether you vote or you don't vote. And if you don't vote, you don't have anything to say. So, with my last 17 seconds, gentlemen, you're the elected leaders of the city. Lead us, you know, but I'm not looking forward to getting led over a cliff now, okay? So, gentlemen, with that, my prayers are with you. You have a good night.
Council members, the deliberative process before casting a vote is supposed to be taking place in front of the people you represent, not with the others. That's what that whole serial meeting in the Brown Act is about. And yet you all just told us that you do the serial meeting. How unfortunate. Now, I know some of you are going to get the little text so that this one and that one can come again and tell me off. By the way, I thought it was really kind of interesting. I was actually writing when I was told I was being too noisy. I was not speaking. What an interesting concept. As I was writing, I thought of the places that there are protests from the residents of the community about big growth. Let's see that big thing on Olympic, a few things on Santa Monica. Los Angeles, of course, has the whole plum and the planning and land use management gathering. There's protests all over California. And yet somehow there are those of you who want to say that those of us who object only do it because, well, we don't want progress. No, some of us actually see what others see and say, yeah, they're right. You know, as I look at some of the things that you say I've always been a naysayer about, let's talk about $8.3 million for that Market Street solution. Then there's that other, was it 8.5 or 8.7, for that bus terminal. Have they brought us what they were supposed to? No, they didn't. And the senior center, we can always go on that. But you know, I think that who gets up and complains about things that if we have an issue with the school district, we take it up with the school district. You see, it was about a Common Core curriculum, a mandated seminar, and yes, it probably should not have taken place where it took place, but in fact, that was a required type of seminar. But I think the more distressing thing, that 38,000 plus 9 was far more eclipsed by the 175 to 200 police officers in riot gear that responded to a few students who had a couple of signs. Really over the top, particularly since it was a couple of teachers who misrepresented what had actually taken place at a board meeting. and encouraged children to go out on the streets. And then we locked them in. I thought this was a community and a country that was supposed to have been based on interactive ability to free speech. But you know what? My time's about up. And I'm sure Ethel can tell you that she thought she had the answer to all the things I complain about. She suggested I find someone she said was named Dick. I'm not sure if she meant Reardon or if she meant Cheney. But wouldn't you think it would be nice if I found someone that simply to solve the issues? But it certainly speaks to the caliber of your fan club.
District 2, Ethel Austin. Okay, Ms. Sobrano, I'm gonna rebuttal you. First of all, I'm not no fan club. I just know what's being done is right, and I remember the things that has happened here. And I didn't tell you that. I told you to stop being so dry and bitter. Everybody needs to change. You need to find love in your heart. That's what I said. Also, I want to mention another thing about Inglewood News. Thanks for letting us know about Netflix, the scam with Netflix. I'm glad I read the paper. I see a lot of people is not reading the paper. If they were, they would notice that you cover a lot of grounds. Also, I'm trying to stay calm. I know y'all know that. Okay. Also about the city clerk, I want to mention something. When you put in a request for any type of paperwork, she has to confide with that department. If that department does not send her what she needs, you can't get that report. Most of the times, she does a lot of things in that office. There's a lot of things go on. We think she's not doing anything, but there's a lot of things she handling there. Besides, just filling out paperwork. And another thing about our city manager. The city manager does not make the kind of money that the normal city manager makes. He does not make money like the vice president. Vice president gets over $300,000 with travel and everything. This man probably go out of town once a year. We're not paying this man that kind of money. Neither are they making that kind of money.
And he doesn't have his
we
own
need to
jet
stop
either.
saying it. Pardon?
He doesn't have his own jet either.
No, he does not. And you guys are never traveling. You guys taking care of business, even the city manager. I got to give you your props. Because without you, they could not exist. Without the city attorney, they could not. They have to find out through you two what is right and what is wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you make that kind of money, donate me $20,000 of it. Also, I want to say, the mayor hit everybody with of 10%. His contract was not to give up a dime, but the mayor and the council wasn't going for it. He was mad and pouting like a little son he is, but still, he gave up the money too. Everybody did. So stop, instead of you all coming up here, and I'm going to say it again. The city is going to move on without you. With or without you. I've been here 38 years also. My son went to school here. And this is the first time I ever seen this city move.
Thank you, Ms. Austin.
First time. And for his complaints, I don't have any complaints. Alex, thank you for having
Thank
those
you, Ms.
meetings
Austin.
too. Okay? Thank you for representing us.
Roy Fisher, the First District again. I was observing a young man who came in here from one of the colleges last week. You were not here, Mr. Fields, nor you, Mr. Falco. But there was a young man here that was, I think, from Jamaica or someplace, and he was talking about foods that you have. He was talking about the fact that, we let the opportunity for that farmer's market go. I don't know why you chose to, and I don't know why these gentlemen decided to not act on it when they could have. And I know that was at your request that you let it go. And, you know, you could have just continued it and allowed others to go into it. But I think that Steve told you well that there are only so many people that are involved in these markets in California, as a matter of fact. And so when you had the opportunity to have a young man who does know about those markets and who was raised in the city to want to try to assist the city with fresh foods and vegetables, you didn't let it happen. And, you know, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that, you know, even as you let it go, you didn't talk about when it might come back. I know you talked about not having staff, but, you know, you don't have staff for a lot of things. It was interesting today, though, that you moved so fast on this, you know, these billboards and other things that you were going to make money of. That was just something that, you know, could have helped the people in the city. I don't know why, you know. I don't know if it's nepotism, you know, favoritism, you know, or just plain old cronyism, you know, that, you know, you did not move on that. But I think you missed, and you know, not only that Steve happens to be my son, you know, he happens to know what he's doing, and he could have made this market run very, very well for the city of Inglewood. So I wanted to bring that to you. The young college kids know, and I don't know why you then don't get it. Thank you.
Close public comment, or council comment. Oh, come on, Mr. Mafdow. We'll wait. No problem. Come on, sir.
Thank you. Gil Matthew, District 4. First, I'd like to say this. On balance, we have a good council. We have a good city. So when residents come to you and have a different viewpoint, they're just as interested in the city as anybody else. Now, Mr. Mayor, we have $13 million which has been denied. Now, comment on what you're going to do about that when you have to pay it back to redevelopment. I mean, the successor agency. Not that the project is not good, excellent project, but what you're going to do. Okay, now, we have $500,000 on public safety grants. I've been asking, what is the criteria or limits on that? I can't get an answer. So answer me if you can after that. Now, in town hall meetings, in the past, we had semi-annual meetings, citywide, not going to school meeting, block club meeting, eating hamburgers. No, we had semi-meetings, annual town hall meetings, where all the residents can come together and express themselves as to what's going on in the city. Because they do not come here, Mr. Mayor, doesn't mean they're happy. Okay, you spend some time in the community talking to residents, you're going to find a different perspective. See, I've been here over 50 years, before any of this was built. And what's happening here is this is a microcosm of what's happening all over the country. Nothing new, nothing different. But the question is leadership. If you want a viable community, we're going to need better leadership. And then you have all of this ideas about prospective revenue. Well, why are you laying off people? You got all of this revenue being generated. Fordham, Hollywood Parkland Company. All of this future. Why are you laying off people? And it's not just people, it's residents that made this city. And I am opposed to laying off code enforcement in any kind of way possible. And SEIU will work with you and strike with you, and you're not going to lay off code enforcement. That's an adjunct to the police department. And you privatize it, you're not going to save a dime. You privatize the fire department, and it costs you more for 3 fire stations than it did for 4. So errors have been made. And Mr. Mayor, what you do is you look at these audits all the way from 2010. They do not match.
I've already given you another 30 seconds.
But they do not match. Thank you.
We're gonna have to call
All right,
time.
thank you for your time. Okay.
Could I have just 1 minute, Mayor? Somebody come up here and said something about the riots and over to school. And the thing they brought out was the police show up in riot gear and all the rest of this. The important thing about the whole thing that went over there at the school was the fact that the kids orderly walked out of the school, did not start a big riot, did not fight. They just walked out in protest of what was going on in the school system. That's the important thing, not if the police show up in riot gear, because we have joint tendency. The police get a phone call, they have to respond. They don't know what they're walking into, so they're going to come over. So let's quit being negative about the police and what we're doing in this community, and let's be more realistic about what's going on with our kids. That's the important thing, is our kids, and thank you.
Okay, we're going to close public comment. Councilman Dotson, anything else? You don't have to. But I don't want to get jumped on again.
I'm not going to respond negatively. First of all, I just would like all of you to know that restaurant, New York, no taste. Wonderful, the place is brand new. One new restaurant. I think the Darby Park people will invite you over and the only thing I want to say, I will say, I was elected to this position. That means I was voted into this. Every man on this council. You may not like me.
Most
but
everybody does,
most of the
George.
people in the first district felt that. And I just come here, walk in the door, and come up here. I walk these neighborhoods, talk to these people, as I do now. And I will do. I come here to work. I did not say we got together. I said partners. Call me and say I broke the Brown Act because by myself, talk to the head by myself. I comments. I'm gonna get the others whether I like it or not, so I appreciate them too. Up and giving up.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Dotson. Councilman Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. Piggyback Councilman Dotson. Actually, I had the opportunity today to go to lunch and with Mr. Falco. We actually went to the Orleans and York Deli, the new one that just opened at 400 West Florence Avenue, Florence and Locust. And I got to tell you, their sandwiches there were the bomb. So if you're looking for a good sandwich, go see them. Kind of go see Cal, but instead go see Sammy, the owner. The other thing is, over on the table, I put a few pamphlets, information packets. As you know, On June 7th and 8th, we have the American Cancer Society Relay for Life. I'm also going to do a pitch in here for joining my District 2 team. Get a hold of me, give me a call, 412-8601, so I can put you on our team to come out and walk on the 7th. It's an overnight event, 7th through the 8th, and we try to give volunteers to walk for the full 24 hours. So please reach out if you're interested in being a part of that. I want to just say a couple of comments. I find it interesting, I've talked about this in the past, when people come up here, they make remarks, and I think it's great. That's what this forum is for our community to come up here and talk about what's happening in the city, the good, the bad, the ugly, but a lot of it is good. But some people always just focus on what they think is not going well, and then they'll spin it to the way they want you to believe it, and don't have any facts to substantiate what their thoughts are based on. But they'll come up here and spew it, and then turn around and walk away from the podium like you're just supposed to believe this stuff, which is nonsense. What I also don't appreciate is when somebody comes up here and is very disrespectful and confrontational, and they attack a man's integrity, a man's honesty, a man's commitment to providing service to this community. A man that I got to tell you, I have all the respect in the world for, and that's Councilman George Dotson and his family, his wife. Obviously, if you come up here, I don't care if you met him 50 years ago and welcomed him here, well, you obviously didn't take a chance in those 50 years to get to know him. Because if you did, you wouldn't be saying what you said. And you're talking about a person that's committed to this community, and I think it's uncalled for to come up here and do that. And then not even to have the courtesy to stick around to the end of the meeting so that you can hear what the council has to say, because as you say, you really care about what's going on in this community. Well, obviously, you don't care enough to stick around to the end of the meeting and to hear what everybody else has to say. You just want to come up there and say what you want to say and then walk away, and like we're all supposed to believe that. Well, I got to tell you, we don't.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are out there that don't, and there's people that are up there watching this thing on TV that don't. You got to come in here and have your facts together just like you expect us to have. And it's a two-way street. And let me tell you, you talk about commitment and being out there in the community, we're all out there. And I'm not just talking about the mayor and the council, I'm talking about our staff, as I said earlier. They are out there at community events. I don't care what it is, you'll find them out there because we care. This is not an 8 to 5, Monday through Friday opportunity for us. This is an opportunity to serve our community 7 days a week whenever we're called upon. And you can bet that we're going to do that. So with that, I want to thank you for sticking around and for letting us know that you care. Have a good night. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Morales.
And we're proud of that. We're proud of being able to serve the people. And the only truth that it is that when the majority of our residents aren't happy with us, we won't be here anymore. That's just as simple as that. I mean, we do the best we can, and it's amazing to me that we spend a good portion of our time just kind of defending who we are. I mean, I try not to do that. Councilman Dodson, Councilman Padilla should never have to do that. And that's just amazing to me. But the truth is, what happens today is a business meeting. And what happened today, this is considered a very good meeting, because today we created revenue for the city of Inglewood. Doesn't matter how you slice it. Money's coming in because of the action we took today. I'm telling you, there's developments that we take, that we approve. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know if they're going to succeed. Today, I can tell you that the action we took will be making the city money, and that's a good meeting. So, good night, everybody.
Councilman Franklin?
Yes, a couple comments. The election for District 1 was over in June of last year. The people have spoken who they want as their representative. And this representative has done his due diligence. He's on fast track to learn the ins and outs of operating as a council member, and he has an open door policy. And I take exception when I hear people try to misconstrue what this council has said, and particularly what my colleague said, when he talks about doing his due diligence. we did not have serial meetings. I have a standalone meetings, particularly on Mondays with the city manager, and then following that with the city attorney alone. And we address specific issues. You heard him say the exact same thing. That is not serial meetings. That is being educated to make conscious decisions, so when he comes up here on the dais, no different than myself, that I'm able to vote intelligently. So therefore, if ayes all come across, it's because that individual or myself has done the due diligence required that you elected us to do our job. And I take my hats off to all our council members here, that we are in fact here 7 days throughout the week, days, nights, weekends, and now even holidays, we found out. I also want to reach out and say thank you to individuals in District 4 that identified that there is a bona fide issues that council members cannot be everywhere all the time and get all the information. So I want to thank my District 4 representative, who is the chair of the Martin Luther King Committee, Henry Brown, to alerting my department. Luther Keith was celebrating his 39th year in the ministry, so that way I can follow up and get his due recognition that is due. He is an anchor to our community and to this city. In conclusion, I do want to also acknowledge, similar to what my colleague said, that he has a pamphlet outside in the foyer for residents to consider. I actually sat on the Metro Service Council, and the Metro Service Council has identified that we've been notified by the Metro Board that they're visiting the possibility of restructuring the fares either on the buses or the trains. And they are taking public hearings to get public testimony. For the South Bay area, this coming Friday, March 14th, at Inglewood City Hall, Community Room A, we will have the public session at 9:30 a.m. regarding this restructure. I've already posted on the 9th floor out there in the foyer. There's also on the first floor of the foyer are the booklets that's available for you. I've also had these booklets distributed to Rogers Park, Darby Park, to the public libraries, and the Veterans Building for the seniors. Please get the word out. This is a public transit discussion about potential rate increases both for buses or for light rail. Thank you, and everyone have a good evening.
I have just a couple things to say. We used to not respond to some of the comments that were made, but we realized that people do watch this on television, some of our residents, and they do ask about it. So we take more time to address some of the things that are said. But one of the first things I want to say is that this is not a seniority contest. Because you lived here 50 years doesn't give your voice any more weight than anyone that's lived here 5, 10, 30 days. You're all residents, and everyone has a voice. It seems that some of the people that come to these meetings think their voice should supersede all others. Mr. Matthew, I disagree with you. I don't know anyone in this community in the years that I've represented you that feels as you do or says the things that you do. So for you to purport that you speak for everyone, this overwhelming majority, I don't find it to be true. I don't think any of my colleagues do. I'm going to tell you the truth. No, you always tell us that there's this great discontent. I don't see that. You know what I see? I see that the forum has come back to Inglewood. I see that 300 people have jobs this year that didn't have them last year. Orleans and York just opened. It's a beautiful restaurant, something to be extremely proud of. Hollywood Park broke ground last month. That'll account for probably 8,000 jobs over the life of its build-out. The NFL's interested in the city today. They weren't interested before. The Dalai Lama came to Inglewood, first in Southern California. The Space Shuttle Endeavour came through our city. We've increased our sign revenue from super graphics by 15%. I never hear some of the most regular and steady residents come here and talk about or acknowledge anything that positive is going on in the city. And that can't be by accident. It seems to be by design. Mrs. Brown's a very intelligent woman, and I know she didn't hear anybody say that they conducted a serial meeting. The councilman said that he meets with staff. He said he does his due diligence. But still, she said it. I don't think that's fair. Common decency doesn't come with seniority. Common decency comes with being a good person, a respectful person. Just because you have no compunction about being rude to people and talking to them in a snarling and condescending manner, that doesn't make you better than other people. It doesn't make people listen to you. So it's time that we grew up as a city. Everyone's entitled to their free speech, but everyone's not entitled to their own set of facts. Even talking about the issue with the school district, somehow that was turned to be the city's problem, when here's what happened. There was a protest of some type, the police responded, everyone went home safe, and no one was hurt. But somehow that was a problem for the city. Sometimes you just got to call things like they are. There are good things that are happening, and some people refuse to acknowledge them. Now, I read a quote from Cicero over the weekend that I'm going to take a minute to read, and you can, if it applies to you, listen to it. If it doesn't, ignore it. But Cicero said, "A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gates freely. His sly whispers rustling through the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor, he speaks in accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their arguments. He appeals to the baseness that lies deep within the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to fear. The traitor is the plague." We're adjourned.